The Outdoor Research Transcendent Down Beanie. Is this thing worth your money? Well, hi guys, welcome to Lone Crow Adventures. I'm Samantha, and this channel is about all things camping, hiking, and backpacking. Today I thought I would talk about the Outdoor Research Transcendent Down Beanie and talk about whether I think this is worth the hefty price tag that comes with this item. So let's take a look at the Outdoor Research Transcendent Beanie. This beanie boasts that it is the lightest beanie on the market, coming in with a weight of only an ounce. The exterior material on the beanie is made out of a 20D ripstop nylon, and the fill is a responsibly sourced 650 fill power goose down. So this hat features some of the best materials. It's very well sewn. The construction is nice. But is it worth the almost $50 price tag that Outdoor Research has put on the Transcendent Beanie? All right, let's start by trying it on for size. It seems to fit really well. I like that it cups my entire head, that it goes to the base of my neck and it cups under my ears. I also like that it pulls down nice and low across my eyebrow so that I can keep all the wind off of me. One of the things I'm not crazy about is that I find there's a little too much room, although this might be a comfortable position to sleep in. But one of the good things about it is that it doesn't shift around on my head. It's very, very secure once I get it on. So those are a couple good things about it. You know what, guys? Let's talk about the elephant in the room, okay? This hat looks kind of stupid. I mean, it's got these really huge baffles on it, and it's designed to keep the down in place, and I understand that. But I just can't help but feeling like I'm wearing a giant marshmallow on my head. I don't think it's really aesthetically pleasing, and it looks a little bit like a turban, so I'm not real wild about that. I know it's kind of vain to think, oh, I want to look cool when I go out on the trail, but I don't want to look like a total dope, which is kind of what I feel like when I'm wearing this hat. So other than the fact that it looks a little strange, what other qualities does this hat have? Well, it definitely is warm. I can feel that there is a lot of heat being trapped at the top of my head. One of the problems that I have with this beanie is that the material, with it being a nylon against my forehead, when I'm hiking and I'm starting to work up a sweat, it feels kind of gross against my skin. It feels like it doesn't breathe well, and that moisture on top of my forehead just kind of sits there. So I'm not really wild about that. The other thing about this beanie, and maybe you've noticed it in the video, or maybe not, is that I feel like I have to shout because it actually kind of muffles my hearing. And all I can hear is the sound of nylon rubbing against the side of my ears. The more that I move around, the louder that sound becomes. I feel like I can't hear very well. The other thing about this hat is it's really noisy. I've never really had a noisy hat, but every time I move my head or when I'm moving my jaw and I'm speaking, the hat moves around on top of my ears and it's so noisy. It's like wearing a noisy camp sleeping mat directly over your eardrums all day. Now, I don't really have necessarily a big head. I feel like I have a pretty average size head, so I can't really make a testament as to how this fits guys with bigger heads. Now, Sarah says that she has a bigger head, and one of the things that she noticed when she was wearing this hat was that it became very stretched across the front of her forehead, and when that happened, it compressed that down, and there was a draft that was coming through and a cold spot across the front of the forehead. And that makes sense because we all know that when down gets compressed, it loses a lot of its insulation properties. So if you're a guy with a bigger head, you might want to look at an alternative hat that's not going to compress and leave you with a cold forehead. Now, in terms of the wonderful insulation properties of this hat, it's a really, really warm hat. This is a great hat if you're going to be laying in your hammock and you want to stay warm, or if you want to wear it. It fits great and it doesn't stick to the inside of your mummy bag, inside of your sleeping bag. So those are a couple really positive points about this hat. If you're going to wear it for active activities like active hiking, you're probably going to be too hot in this hat. And the hat doesn't really breathe well. Like I mentioned before, sweat builds up on your forehead, but over time it actually builds up on the top of your head too, and it makes your hair kind of wet. It just doesn't breathe or vent really well. So if you're going to use this hat for some more high strenuous activities where you're going to build up some body heat, you'll probably be sorry that you did. This is more of a I'm going to lay in my hammock hat, or I'm going to pop this on while I'm sitting around the campfire kind of hat. Not really an active wear kind of hat. So keep that in mind before you make a purchase too. So, if I had to rate the Outdoor Research Transcendent Beanie on a 5-point scale, I would actually only give this hat 2 out of 5 crows. Couple big reasons for that. Number 1, I can't hear anything while I'm wearing it. Number 2, it's kind of dopey looking. And number 3, it makes me sweat when I'm doing activities. I don't like having to bring a separate hat for base camping and then a separate hat for hiking. That's doubling up the weight, even though it's only just an ounce. But why am I going to carry that extra ounce when I could just wear my regular hat that I wear on top of my head and wear it at all times? The way it looks, the fact that it's noisy, and the fact that I can't hear anything while I'm wearing it are 3 really big down points, and it's really expensive. This thing comes in, by the time you get tax on it, over $50. It's just not worth it, and honestly, I wish I hadn't have bought it. Thanks guys so much for checking out my review of this beanie. Now's the time, if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. And while you're still hanging around, you may as well check out a few other videos. Until next time, folks, we'll see you on the trail.